Oh, so that's what John Wick was doing. A while ago, I saw the film Ballerina, or From the World of John Wick, Ballerina. It takes place between John Wick 3 and 4 and is directed by Lynn Wiseman, who has worked on other action movies like Underworld series, Live Free or Die Hard, and the Total Recall remake. And you know, I thought this movie was just fine. Back in the day, around the 2000s to 2010s, there was a lot of just random action movies that just came out, and you know, they were kind of just one and done movies where it just ended and there really wasn't much to take from it. That's kind of how I feel with the Ballerina film in general. I didn't dislike it, but there wasn't really much to take from it. I enjoyed it a lot. There was things to like, but it's not something that's going to stick with me. I mean, the John Wick movies aren't really movies to like really learn anything from. It really is just a bunch of dumb fun, and that's not a bad thing. I really do like all of the John Wick movies. I like all the shit that he manages to get himself in, and this was just a fine film. Story follows a girl named Eve, who is the daughter of somebody named Javier, who was born under the Resca-Roma organization, and he had a wife from a different crime organization or cult. She was killed when Javier tried to run away with the daughter. Eventually, this crime cult organization came back for Javier and tried to also kill the daughter, and the dad also didn't make it, so she eventually becomes an orphan and is picked up by Winston, who is later then enrolled back into Resca-Roma, where she enlists to become a ballerina assassin. There's a lot of hard work, a lot of training, a lot of fighting, a lot of things she needs to do. It's very rigorous every single day, and she works very hard to get to the position that she's in to take on missions. She even runs into John Wick at one point, which was during the events of John Wick 3, and it was really cool to see how they made that connection. After a few missions, she then learns about this cult group coming back and trying to take her out, and she learns that it's the same group that killed her dad, so she then tries to find this group and take her revenge. It's a very interesting story. There is a lot of action, there is a lot of fun to be had, there's a lot of good camera shots, so the action is really good. It's just as good as the third and fourth John Wick film. It was good to see that they carried on the action. They really stepped up with this movie. There was also just a lot of creative action moments in this film. I don't want to say too much, but it's definitely really fun. If you like John Wick, you're gonna like Ballerina. Eve as a character is pretty interesting, though we don't really know too much about her. She really just becomes another puppet for this crime organization. I mean, she eventually decides to do this on her own. She's even warned by the Russians, or I'm just gonna call them Russians from now on. The Russian crime organization warns Eve not to go after this group because they're very deadly and they are not merciful at all, but Eve doesn't care because she wants revenge. I will say it's very similar to how John Wick was introduced as the character. We kind of understood that there was this like backstory that he had with his wife, and then him losing the dog at the beginning of the film was just like the nail in the coffin before he lost his shit. Now, I'm not trying to like downplay the new character Eve for having something worse, because losing her parents to this crazy situation is definitely sad, and it would definitely cause anyone to want to seek revenge. I just really wish we got to see more about Eve. She's still just a fine character. There's just not really much to latch on. When it comes to Keanu Reeves' character as John Wick, you could easily say the same thing, and I definitely do agree, but we've seen 4 movies of him so far, so at this point, we're definitely along for him. Part of the movie involves Eve traveling to this other continental where he finds out that there's another cult member in the hotel played by Norman Reedus, and he has a daughter, and he as well is also running away from the same cult. And there's a good point in the movie where those two work together, and it is so cool seeing Norman Reedus in these type of movies. Honestly, it's so amazing seeing him in the John Wick universe. He's also just such a cool ass actor. I just wish we could have seen more from him and seen him do a lot more. And of course, John Wick makes an appearance in this movie because he's kind of like the one to come in by the Russians to be like, hey, come in, stop what you're doing, you can't do this, you're gonna be fucking killed, you gotta stop, I understand what you're going through, but you can't just do this. And there's even a moment in the film where Eve tries to stop John Wick, and everyone in the audience knows he's not touching John Wick. There are other characters we've seen from the previous John Wicks. They somehow have more footage of Lance Reddick, which I am always happy to still see him even after his death, though this is probably the last time they have him. Unless they use AI to replace him, whatever, which I hope they don't. Part of the assassin group is this other character named Lena, who we eventually found out she's very important to the story, and I'm not going to say anything about that. And, you know, with all the characters, I really just want to say, you know, they're there, they're fine. It's it's just, there's not really much to latch on. This is not an issue with their acting. I think everyone did a good job acting. It's just, there's not really much to latch on, except for John Wick. And like I said before, we know him. That's John Wick. There's a lot of good set pieces in this film. The action takes us to a lot of places. There's a lot of places where people are using to like shoot at other people. It just feels like a really cool scene. It's not just, oh, we're just standing in place and shooting. Like, they're actually taking cover in really cool places. Small details like that was just really fun to see. There was a lot of other ways people were killed with certain gadgets. I thought the music was pretty fine. Editing, from what I remember, was pretty okay. Yeah, the color and lighting was also pretty well done. There's a lot of scenes in John Wick where they go to like these vibrant, bright areas with a bunch of flashing lights at parties. Yeah, that was pretty fun to see them do that. You know, overall, it's just really hard to talk about a John Wick movie without spoiling it, and I really think people should just watch this blind. It's not like the most interesting story ever. I do think they have set it up to where they will probably make another one of these like Ballerina spin-off movies. If you've seen John Wick 4, you know how pretty hard it's going to be to continue John Wick as a franchise, so these side spin-off movies are pretty decent. I don't know how long they're gonna keep doing them. I don't know if this is a franchise worth milking, but you know, like I said, they're a lot of fun. It's just very entertaining to see these things, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like these type of movies, but there's not really much to say about them. But yeah, last thing I just want to say, I think this is a good film to watch, very enjoyable. If you like action, you like John Wick, you like some creative kills, you like seeing some badass actors do some badass things, go ahead and watch this film. I'm not going to say too much about the story. I think it's best to just experience it blind. With that, I think I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I can easily give this a 6.5 because it doesn't really stick with me anymore even after all this time, but it's still really enjoyable. There's just not really much to just say. If you've seen the John Wick movies, then you know what to expect. But yeah, what do you guys think? That's John Wick, or I'm sorry, from the world of John Wick, Ballerina. We'll see what happens with this franchise, but yeah, that's going to be it for this review. You guys have a great rest of your day.